So your last film had actual poetry in it, and this was a very poetic film as well. I'm wondering how you would describe the poetic language of Long Day's Journey into Night.
我觉得建立诗意的方法有许多，不一定非要念诗，这个是，甚至是在路边看到一个人，你都会觉得他很诗意。所以在《地球最夜晚》里边，我觉得是它的剪辑视听的比电影里面变得更诗意，它的结构。
Your filmic vocabulary, as you described it, often breaks a lot of rules. You have a tendency for kind of, disruption. So I'm wondering if you could talk about your process when you're breaking down the script and deciding how you want to tell your story.
我觉得比如说第一场戏，其实我考虑问题都很简单，我都不会想到，要去做什么，比其他电影有多么不一样的想法。我考虑问题的，思维都非常的简单。比如说第一场戏，我就想说他一个人怎么进入到，一个人怎么从梦里醒来。我们有很多办法，通过颜色，通过声音，通过剪辑。但我想，如果两个错落的空间不断的往下拍的话，最后到他醒来的脸应该是最打动人的方法，所以就这么写了，都很直接。
Creating these dreamlike experiences in film is effective because the medium really draws you in, and when you come out of the film, it's like waking up from a dream. But I'm curious what what inspired you to use the medium this way? Are there particular works or artists that have excited you, that inspired your work?
在写剧本的时候，就会不断的去学习其他更优秀的导演，然后在采访的过程里面，大家也不断的提醒我，好像你这一段像谁？我一想啊，对，那时候写剧本也许正在看那个电影，有提到的 Vertigo， 有提到的好多人也提到大卫林奇，我应该都是在写剧本的时候有反复看他们的电影。
So if your inspiration is more organic, tell me what part of your process excited you the most, or the ideas that you couldn't stop thinking about or coming back to.
写剧本的时候，我不太享受写剧本的过程。
I don't particularly enjoy the process of writing my screenplay.
因为写剧本都是把要拍的那些东西提前把它写出来，然后到现场的时候都会变，因为到现场一拿到一年左右，1年前写的，5个月前写的这场戏，我就会觉得好像我已经拍过了，就对它兴趣就很小。
So when I'm writing script, it's interesting at how the script that you have written, and it probably won't be realized or actualized in production 5 months or a year later. So when I'm looking at the things that I have written a year or 5 months prior, I suddenly lost interest of making and how am I going to make this into a reality based on the site or the locations that I'm in. So sometimes it really takes a lot to really transform a script that I have written in my head, because when I'm writing it, I pretty much already shot it in my head, and then translate that to something that I actually need to do to actualize it 5 months or a year later.
就我最享受的是我在写剧本的过程当中去写其他的东西，比如我写了很多，我写一写我就会分心，然后写其他的小故事，那些小故事是我最享受的，独立的小故事跟电影没关系。
Once creating your vision turns into kind of the chore of actually getting it onto the page, you need to satisfy yourself with other fun projects with no stakes.
所以我觉得要时刻让它变成我潜意识里面认可的，它是个创作，它不是我要完成一项工作，不是我和100个人、200个人一起去完成一个工程，那样会特别的无聊。就像当时在上课一样，其实在写作的时候，我最享受的都是那些开小差的时候，都是那些分心的时候，那些在提醒我是在创作，是在完成。
The human mind is fickle. In the initial vision you had in your head then, I know you spent a long time testing the 3D shot. Were there particular shots or elements that from the very beginning you couldn't exercise from your mind?
摄影机飞到天空呢，一开始就有一些伙伴就开始已经做试验了，因为它对我非常重要，它跟那个老鹰的那个文本是有重大关系的，它不是一个炫技的过程，是前面2D 部分建立出来那个老鹰，我希望最后就是一个视角飞起来，所以那个一开始就在做测试的技术上面。
Talk about how you've been inspired by your home in Kaili, why that has been such a big influence on your work.
那你们提到在凯里这个地域和地方对你的作品的影响，那为什么会这2部片都是以凯里作为拍摄的地点？
因为在那边买了房子。
Because I bought a home there.
然后我因为常年住在那边，然后家人都在那边，在那边拍戏是一个是比较熟悉，第二个就是很习惯那边的气候、食物，是这些无关紧要的原因导致了。
是。
Fair enough, yeah. If it has a personal connection to you, I'm sure it's much easier to translate your emotion onto the screen.
可以把你的感情比较容易的把它诠释和表达出来。
说的比我好。
That's a better answer than mine.
So, maybe you've heard of Aristotle's classical unities for drama, that a play should follow one action, occur over a period of 24 hours, and exist in a single physical space. And this is something your films have somewhat adhered to, and also films like The Stalker, which is
Tarkovsky.
a parallel. So I'm curious what you think is the advantage of this structure, or why this kind of real-time movie appeals to you.
因为到长镜头的时候，其实它的虽然这次的地理空间跨度已经很大了，但它无非就是3公里。如果我们有剪辑的话，我们可以3万公里，可以去天上、去海里，它可以更丰富。但是在场景里面很持续的把它，就像刚才讲的，在一个时段里面全部获得以后，它会很真实、很有魅力。大家缺少了刚才讲的还有更丰富的东西，那部分丰富的东西就是前面2D可以提供的。他们把各种文本都隐藏起来了，然后每到一个场景就蹦出来，每到一个人物的时候就蹦出来，那些人物看着是小孩，其实已经变成了各种各样的人交织在里面。
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think China recently outnumbered the number of movie theaters in the United States, and I know the Chinese cinema culture is only becoming more and more sophisticated. So what kind of stories or movies or art are you hoping to see in the future for Chinese or international cinema in general?
因为我看待这个问题可能更边缘一点，我看待这个问题的观点没办法像一个艺术家一样，因为我身边在凯里的朋友，他们就喜欢看爆头的电影，就喜欢看更激烈的电影，你给他们看我的电影，他们也不想看，所以我觉得应该是有更多更丰富的电影可以被大家看到，而不是大量的人去看艺术电影，大量的人去看一个烂的电影。我觉得不区分这些，就是哪怕是一个商业电影，应该是一个好的商业电影，是一个制作水准、故事各方面好的电影。所以我觉得问题出在电影制作者和市场，我觉得市场越来越好，也越来越合理。
Well, I think that a lot of the mainstream escapist cinema is kind of afraid to take these risks because it's so parallel to the real world. But I think your film achieves both escapism and a dreamlike state. So I'm just impressed. And congrats.